I see you. It's your turn in the sun. I know I get a bone. You're right, I got a bone. I knew you were gonna come over. Come on up. You're not dry yet. You can come up anyways. He just had a bath. He is still soaking wet. Okay, there he is. Somebody a bone? There you go. Marcy never liked bones. I got her all kinds of, we tried every type of brand you could think of. She had want nothing to do with it. She's like, no, that's dog stuff. I'm not a dog. Giant snail going down for a thing. that's what, third day in a row he's done that? That snail is getting so big. Snail is going to get knocked off the glass in a minute. There's a school of cory cats, 14 of them, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they're zipping along the side of the glass, and they keep hitting the snail. They keep running into them, and then they go, zoop, go over. Anyways, it's many hours later. It is 5. Can you see that? You can't, wait. What do you see? Where? No, that's covered up. Where's the date? It's 5:34 p.m. July? 7 is July, right? Is it July? Yes, it's July because we had just had 4th of July the other day. Make you scared of all the fireworks. July 12th, 2021. I am not good with calendars. I cannot read calendars or numbers in general. I never learned how to do math. That is beautiful. And one of the major things I dislike about gypsy lifestyle, gypsy culture, whatever you want to call it, lack of school, lack of education. I wanted to go to school. Oh, yeah. Schools are run by the government, and the government is run by Satan. Therefore, the schools are run by Satan. You know what? I just want to learn to read and write. I don't care about your crazy conspiracy theories. Others are the same way. They want to go to school. I don't let them go to school. Where did we leave off with these? Whatever that was, it was defeat. I think it wasn't. That was a skin chest, wasn't it? I think it was. I don't remember. Tomblands chest. Okay, wait a minute. I have all the Tomblands skins. We don't need a Tomblands chest. So, and you're not one of our regular streamers. I don't know who you are, so we'll take that off. Kill 6 hearts. What was the other one? Okay, you have no more things, right? We have an epic, so battling now in place with your head. 21 minutes, that's a lot. What do you got? Silver, you want me to wait 21 minutes for a silver. So, you're battling now. Let's go over here. What do we got over here? 24 minutes? Probably not. What do you got? Silver. I like this one. It's a silver and it's 24 minutes. 2 minutes. Well, whatever it is, we will join it. And gold chest, yeah. Give you an epic for chest. Let's see. Whatever is going to work best here. This is one of those ones that not Oh, those orcs? Orc Slayer will take them. We will give you an Orc Slayer then. They are orcs, aren't they? Goblins and orcs. Yep. Okay. Rascal, you don't need to sit on your dog. This is, oh boy. Mickey's got a bone. I'm gonna sit on him and try to make him squeak. 5 minutes? 5 minutes we can jump in on. What do you got? Guess there's gonna be a loyalty boss. Yep. This map is always a loyalty boss. And it requires you? Yes. You actually have a unit thing there? I didn't see it. Wow, you do have a unit thing there. I did not see it. Well, you know what? You ain't gonna win this without a flying rogue. So I'm putting flying rogue because you need it to destroy that building. I clicked on it, nothing happened. Oh, I got an extra. From Ovid? Wow. That's... He doesn't hand those out very often. They're not random. He actually picks names from his chat. You have to be somebody who posts in his chat pretty... I do post in his chat pretty regular. But you have to be somebody who posts in his chat pretty regular in order to get one of those. That. We probably should have looked and seen what is the quest asking for. Nothing we need to specifically put down? No? Oh, it needed... Oh, we needed an Orc Slayer for that quest. It said kill orcs. Silver chest. No, we want to get... But you haven't marked anything yet. Are you not marking today? He may still be marking stuff. Anyways, you have, in order to get those, he does them by hand. And he goes down to names in his chat. If you're somebody that's posted in his chat, he sends them to you manually. The standard setting, the automatic setting is to automate. It just automatically sends them out. But there it goes. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be. They can, the stream captain can turn that off so that they hand them out manually. No orcs on this map, right? I can give you a healer because on top of it. Because that's the first one on the list. So we don't have anything in general. This map fairly easy. It's a difficult map if you didn't have a lot of users, but he's got enough viewers. So it's going to be easy for you. I opened this to read it and I didn't read it. Well, that's not true in the current series, that's for sure. It says, in a story with a main character, once you know the whole thing runs for many more chapters, I think they mean near, I don't know. Is near clear nothing of enormous gravity like death will happen to the MC? I hope English is not their first language if they're writing like that. I can forgive something like that if English is not their first language, or if it's a situation where They had crazy parents, didn't let them go to school. But if you went to public school and you write like that, that's on you. I know everybody is always, oh, it's up to the parents, it's up to the teachers, it's up to the school system. No, it's up to you to stop being a lazy jackass, get off your damn cell phone, and do your schoolwork. Spare the rod, spoil the child. We're seeing it in action, aren't we? Anyways, basically, translated into English, what they want to know is, if you have a main character, and it's obvious this is the main character after the first chapter, therefore isn't it also obvious that nothing enormous like death is going to happen to them? Quaraun, main character, death is probably trying to strangle him. Has been a few times. We've actually seen Quaraun die a few times. And it's main character, and it's not some sort of, yeah, this is everyday life genre. Death could be right around the corner for your main character. Anyways, but if there's many MCs, main characters, it is not so clear. So wouldn't overall be better to have more than one MC? Unless it's very constrained in terms of overall length of story can have. I don't see a big reason why it ain't better, and it has more possibilities. Depends on the story. And that's what the first one says. Depends. Not every story needs more than one MC. Not every story needs one MC, yeah. I see that in the Quaraun series. Usually, Quaraun is the only main character, but like Helaman and Necromancer, we're going back and forth between two main characters. Keelam's never going to show up in any other story. But for the sake of that story, it works to have him as an alternate main character, because you're not always seeing what Quaraun is doing. Ah, we got our skin. We got both the skins we wanted. Okay, you went offline. Go away and find battle. Neither of your favorites. You have only 1 minute, so whatever it is, we'll drop something in. So this one works. Let's see, what do you got for a chest? Oh, Odyssey chest. Odyssey chest is what we're looking for. But he's not one of our favorites. We want the Odyssey chest on one of our favorites because I'm pretty sure you're going to need the gold X. You have a chance of getting him with the silver X. We have a chance of getting him with Ovid. But I'm pretty sure you need the gold X to get the skins. I've never gotten the skins without a gold X. And I've heard other people say that they've never gotten the skins without a gold X. And once somebody said they got one with a silver. We're only 2 minutes, you know, I just dropped something in. So I don't think you can get it with anything less than the silver X. This right here, silver X. See, these ones with no X, I don't think you can get a skin. And the ones with bronze X, I don't think you can get a skin. I think it has to be silver or gold. And you're looking for these, so I'll put one right there. Okay, let's go to our skins. Equipment. We want to equip you. Equip. There we go. We finally have a skin for our artillery. Now we have at least one skin for every unit. That's a temporary skin. The trick is to have an interesting protagonist. Good story isn't about the risks the character is taking, whether they'll live or die. It should be about the events surrounding the character, not to mention that there are tragedies that can happen to a character that are as bad as or even worse than death. A character could get raped, they could be tortured, their entire family could die. All three of those happen to Quaraun in the one we're editing right now. Why can't I remember what that was called? Also, wait, it says we can upgrade somebody? What? Berserker. Since it's the next one there, should be the one we upgrade next. The rate we're going, getting scrolls for these top ones, the flag bearer is probably going to be the next one that gets upgraded to 30. Maybe that for a new one. Just as really good. Avallac'h. This is actually pretty hard boss, but I think they got enough to do it. We'll go ahead with this one. We didn't have that many people, right? So we probably is going to have trouble getting that because that's a fairly hard one to get. It's easy for somebody who's got a bigger channel, but that's a small channel, so it's going to be hard for him to get. If your main character isn't interested enough to carry the story, then why are you writing about them in the first place? I agree with that. And if a character can continue for 138 volumes, that must say something about how interesting they are. I never thought of that. Finding a balance. I'm sure many writers relate to this. I'm so passionate about my writing. When I create worlds and characters, it's like I put a piece of my heart on the page. Oh, that's right. We had a thing. I was going to put that, and I forgot. Gotta do that. This reminded me of something else. I didn't get he started, yeah, early, just about 16 minutes. That's what I say, he always starts at 17-minute mark. Did you just jump on the back of my chair to jump over there? Also, why do my flowers look like that? There, where you're sitting there staring at them and looking over at me to tell me, I'm not eating your flowers. I got a vase of roses over there, and I noticed earlier this morning, they're like squashed. They've only been there 2 days. Odyssey chest. Oh, we're gonna stay with you then. That's the one we're looking for. They've only been there a few days. 2, 3 days. They've been there 3 days or less. I brought them over the other day because I was sick. That thing that was happening where the whole side of my face swelled up and I couldn't do anything. I was hurting so much that day. Then came over later that night and brought those flowers over. Somebody's sitting here in the front and I thought it was Raphael. But I see somebody swimming around in the back, and that's usually Raphael. I think it's Rachel in the back, and this one's Raphael, because this one looks like Raphael. If I only see one of them and I'm not up, I can tell them apart when I'm near them, but I'm too far away. The markings are slightly different on them. I'm too far away to tell which one is which. And now they're both in the front. When they're side by side, Rachel is a lot bigger than Raphael. Also, Raphael is more like pointy shape. He's just like a triangle all the way to the front. Whereas Rachel is like more tadpole shape, like pointy and then round on the front. If you know fish shapes, they're both catfish. They're giant Raphaels. So they are going to get very big. Billy did a trim today. No, I just got a text as far as let's see what was that? Who was that? Is it an important thing? No. It's not. Billy just got shaved. So Billy is one of the dogs from the dog walking group that used to walk Marcy for me. Mickey has been going over and visiting them to get used to those dogs in case they need to walk Mickey for me. So Billy is a Shih Tzu. He's bigger than Mickey, but he's skinnier by a lot. So much skinnier. They both weigh the same amount. Wow, is it hard? They just fill up so fast. Fastest. His board is filled up so fast. It is crazy trying to get something on an open board. Did we get one down? We got it down. Is he doing a vampire map? There are so many people putting vampires down. It sounds like he made a call for vampires. Oh yeah, you're gonna have a hard time with this. That's why I said we need to go to full. I think you're gonna melee here. We're gonna need to go to full 30 minutes with you. Okay, yeah, see the gold chest? 15 gold. It's hardly anything. That's why I said we usually don't wait the full 30 minutes for a gold chest or under. Gold, silver, bronze. It depends on what else I'm doing and who the streamer is and what I need. Because the bronze one only drops some of the scrolls. If I need a particular scroll, some of them are only dropped into bronze chests. Some of them are only dropped into silver chest. That's why sometimes I'll be like, oh wait, we need silver. And I'll only go with the silver. Or sometimes, once in a while, I go after the bronze chest. But I tend to, because those are all the common stuff, I tend to look for the ones that are under 5 minutes. If it's a bronze or silver chest. I wanted to see what is this. It should be a loyalty, right? This is a loyalty. Do we want to wait a full half hour on a loyalty? Because it's a loyalty, somebody that we only have a bronze with. I'm going to take it off and see if we can find 7 minutes. That's nice and short. What do you got? Probably bronze. You only got 4 people. Okay, we will come in and help you. So we got 4 people. Definitely need help. Let's see this. This one's the Odyssey chest, right? Yes, this one's the Odyssey chest. The Odyssey chest is the one we're looking for the most of all. I don't have any of the skins, and those 2 skins are the ones that I've been trying to figure out. Where did they get those? Well, now we know where they got them. I didn't know that was a type of chest you could get, so I didn't know that's how people were getting them. Don't place your personal value on things you do. This is what I always tell people. I agree with that so much. We were just talking about that in the previous stream. Why were they talking about it? I can't remember why I was talking about it now, but that I was talking about it where all these people were like, there was like 4 of them back to back within less than an hour, people starting threads on the same topic. Obviously they opened it up and they did not look at the homepage to see, oh look, 3 other people's asked this exact same question in the last hour. But they were asking, and it's a question you see daily. Not just on this subreddit either. You see it daily. Where they were asking, how do I stop hating my work? One of them was, My writing makes me so depressed. I hate myself. Every time I write, I hate myself more. And it's like their self-esteem doesn't exist. And so they judge themselves based on how they write. And they think their writing is shitty. They hate their writing, so they hate themselves more. And I was like, how does this happen? Because I've never judged who I was based on my writing. I've always looked at it as, okay, that's shitty, I can improve it. Hey look, I improved it. There's never a... I don't know. How do you describe it? I mean, that's the thing. I have such a hard time wrapping my mind around what these people are saying. How do they think this stuff about themselves and their work? And how is that a thing? Don't place your personal value on things you do. Yeah, I agree with that. When you get constructive criticism, you have a means to improve your product. Yes. You are not the product. Agreed. You are still a valuable human being. Your job or artwork, no matter how wonderful or not, does not change that. I agree. That is such good advice. I guess what's hard for me is the fact that I feel my writing is my identity. Yes, there are so many of these. And I didn't realize when I opened it, this was another one because the title doesn't say that. I feel like my writing is my identity. I struggle these past few years to know I'm not even close to where I want to be. That knowledge in itself can stifle my motivation. I want to get better, but it is difficult to allow the right process into my life to do that. That being said, this is more of what I was saying before. This is just a lack of self-discipline. That's all it is. If you don't have enough self-discipline, you're not going to be able to do anything in your life. It goes back to the spare the rod, spoil the child, and now the child doesn't know how to do shit. Trust me when I say you want to unhook this as fast and as thoroughly as you can. Don't delay. Tackle this problem immediately. Save yourself some suffering. You agree with that? And that's definitely... And I don't understand it. I do not understand it. How... I don't get it. Writing helps. Should I start a new paragraph? If it's the same person speaking. You're the slowest runner, Spencer. I tease him and he rolls his eyes. Okay, this is bad grammar. Oh, so bad. I'm having a hard time reading it because it's bad grammar. He takes off sprinting and leaves me behind. I slid my shoe on. Wait for me. I would changing scenes without a physical border of some sort can get confusing. There's no right answer, but readability is critical. If it's too hard to follow, some readers won't bother. That's true. That's why you see me doing I writing correct grammar in the first draft. When I first write the Quaraun novels, I do write perfect grammar the first time. But then you see me like this where, yeah, see, exactly how long these are, and then I just do. I don't want to change that one. I noticed when I went to change, like this one. Okay, this one I want to change. So you get to this one is this long space of text. A lot of readers won't read if it's a whole full block like that on a page. A lot of readers are like, I'm going to read that page, flip the page. That's why you get so many people who end up with, wait, Quaraun's elderly? I didn't know that. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm reading volume 15. You read 15 volumes? You didn't know Quaraun's elderly? Wow. And then I get the, how come you never said Boot Fuzzy was black? When they get to volume 22 and somebody calls him a nigger. They made up with this white power, racist, white supremacist who starts saying that to him. And then they're like, wait, this character is saying that to him. Is he black? I'm 22 volumes in and I didn't know he was black. Uh-huh. Okay. How? I mean, I could understand if it only says in one place when it introduces him and it's he's black and you don't hear it again. Everybody points out the fact that he's black because he lives in Maine in the 1400s. You know, the state that today in 2021 has fewer than 100 black people living in the entire state, that state. He's a black person in the 1400s in that same place. He's pretty much the only black person, and it gets pointed out when every character meets him that, oh my God, what are you? They don't know what to do. Most people in the 1400s, if they didn't have black people living in their area, they didn't know black people even existed. It was not common knowledge. Look up Benjamin Franklin's diary and read it. He was in his 60s the first time he found out black people existed. He found out while he was reading a textbook. A teacher wrote a textbook. He owned the publishing house. The teacher wanted to get it published. He's reading this textbook. The textbook talks about this group of monkeys that resembles humans. This is a school textbook. Talks about this group of monkeys that were discovered and they resemble humans. And it calls them Negroes. He publishes this book, and the reason he talks about it in this section of the diary, it's now several years later, and he's in France, and he's writing his diary entry talking about how he wished he hadn't published this book. He wants to contact the school teacher and tell them, I want to unpublish your book. I don't want my name on this book. I'm here in France. I've just met some black people. They're not monkeys. They're humans. And he wrote this big long thing about it. And that was a big issue when the Constitution was being written. He wanted slavery to be written into it because he found out about black slaves. And he was like, you can't do this. They're not monkeys, they're humans. You can't do this. He was extremely... Nobody ever talks about it. You never hear... People always talk about Martin Luther King Jr. They never talk about Benjamin Franklin in terms of what happened with black slaves. You wouldn't have people like Martin Luther King Jr. able to stand up and talk if you hadn't had Benjamin Franklin first fighting for their rights. And people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, they both had slaves, and they were against what Benjamin Franklin was saying. They fought him on that a lot. But the fact remains, that was the 1600s. It was the 1680s when he wrote that. That's a lot different than the 1400s, which is what Quaraun's time period is. Boom Fuzzy is a black man living in a place where there are no black people in the 1400s, in an area where people have never even heard of black people. They don't know black people exist. So when Boom Fuzzy walks into a village, a dozen or more people address him by, "What the hell is wrong with your skin? Are you sick?" They don't know why he has black skin. That's a big issue in every single novel. It's brought up over and over and over and over again. Every tavern they go into, every bed and breakfast they stop at, every inn they stop at, every marketplace they go to. It happens over and over and over again. It's a reoccurring event in the Quaraun series because of the time period and the region they live in. And people read that and get to volume 22, and then they're like, wait, somebody called him the N-word. Is he black? And I have gone and looked because, I mean, it's a really big issue. I've gotten more than 2,000 emails where people were shocked when they read volume 22. That is Ghoul Spawn and the Lich Lord's Lover. They read that and they're like, oh my god, Boom Fuzzy's black. I didn't know Boom Fuzzy was black. And when I've gone back and checked, a lot of the times it's places where the page will look like this. And it becomes pretty obvious what happened. They were reading and reading and reading, and they get to a big block page like this, so they flip the page. Oh wait, two more like that. Flip, flip. Two more. Flip, flip. Ah, here's some dialogue. And then they start reading again. I mean, it's very obvious that that is the situation. Because every place you see a situation where Boom Fuzzy is described as black, it is a big block of text. And the same thing with Quaraun being elderly. Every time you see Quaraun being elderly, it's a big block of text. People skip the big block of text. And here's a place where I can do what I was just showing you. This is why you see me. This is correct grammar. Right here. That is what paragraphs are supposed to look like. However, a lot of readers are going to skip. That's why I do this. Get the keyboard on. And watch what will happen in just a minute. That's why I do this. It ends up looking and reading, because it does change how it reads when I do this. But it ends up looking and reading like poetry. And it becomes easier for people to read it. Simply because they're like, oh, that's not a giant block of text. I'll read that page. So what you're seeing me doing when I am editing and putting these lines in, like what I did, and now you see a bunch of lines, this is not grammatically correct. And if you were doing in like a business letter, professional writing, an essay, you wouldn't do this. But in fiction, you can get away with doing stuff like this. And I do it simply because, you know what? It just makes it easier for people to read. I mean, that's a proven fact. You done autosaving? The autosave kicked in. It wouldn't let me click it anymore. But by doing this, it breaks it up so it's not as much text. Also, we've got 4 pages of straight up info dump. So you're going to also see me go back in and put dialogue in between over the course of editing. Right. People are more likely to read dialogue. There are people who like the long descriptions and they will look for them and they will read them. But those type of readers are relatively few. The vast majority of people who read, they want to zip, 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 zip. So they want something that is more like this. A page like this is the pages that people are going to read. They're like, oh, zip, 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 zip. And we actually probably shouldn't have that page there because that's Boom Fuzzy. Boom Fuzzy discussing the joys of various reasons of why to come. That's what that is. But Boom Fuzzy's dialogue is usually when people say that's erotica, they're like, what were you reading? Oh, what he. Yeah, he just said, oh, how fun it is to come while he's cooking. Because cooking excites him, so that's why he cooks. And you're gonna call that erotica? The guy's crazy. I mean, he's evil. He is talking about sex all the time because he is outright evil. This is probably a character who goes against one of the biggest tropes people tell you about villains. Don't make your villain evil for the sake of being evil. Give him a motive. Boom Fuzzy's evil because evil is fun. I mean, he says it. He says it's fun to rape people. He says it's fun to eat people. He says it's fun to kill people. He says it's fun to kill people by raping them to death and then eating them. And then when you get done eating their flesh, he goes into detail of how he dehydrates their bones, grounds their bones up into flour, and that's the flour he uses to make the gingerbread. And that's supposedly erotica, according to several tens of thousands of people. Ah, yeah, candy canes. We probably shouldn't be on that page. Yeah, that's why I said this one is a hard one to edit on Twitch because this one, the original edition used to have Quaraun's age in it also. Quaraun's age is removed from the Amazon editions. Quaraun's very young in this one, and Boom Fuzzy was raping him. That was what was going on. Oh, yeah, let's just stay out of this book while we're online. How about that? There we go. That's the hanging tree. We don't want that. This one's the one we wanted to give an epic. Epic. What type of an epic we got? Very good epic. Okay, we do this epic here. Why do sometimes I do that? There's like a delay. But I think we need to zip through here because, yeah, you're on a new map. I thought you was on a new map. Okay. We're gonna miss getting another chest if we don't. What's yours? That's the same one, but it's a silver chest, not the Odyssey chest. You're the same one with a bronze chest. I saw Ovid was explaining that you have to get a certain amount of wins before it'll upgrade the chest. So even though it shows the skin chest, it may not give you the skin chest on the thing. It could give you the bronze chest instead because you didn't get enough wins before that. He was just explaining that the other day because somebody was asking. We landed on that and we didn't get. It said it was going to give us the skin chest and it gave us the bronze chest. And he was talking about how that happened. See, you have to get a certain amount of wins in each campaign before you reach. Wait a minute. I just did that. That's the Odyssey chest right now. And yes, you never get a skin in this chest one. You have 2 or 3. Most ambushes. Oh, 29 minutes on the goal. 24 minutes. That's a long time unless you got something good. Gold is good. The gold chest could only have like 10 in it though. Sometimes it's pretty low. That's a loyalty token. We'll go with the loyalty token. We need to give you this. That's what we need for that. Okay. So I'm gonna take off both of these because we can find better than gold. You got only 6 minutes. So what are you? Oh, you are loyalty, right? Unknown. I've never seen an unknown on that. But we can give him a balloon. My leg is having a weird hurt again. You're battling now. You only have a few seconds. Can we just jump right in? Okay, it's a bronze, but it's 17 seconds. Okay. Anyways. Like this was saying. There's no right answer, but there's a dog there. He didn't know you were that close there. I didn't see you. You were right up against the side of the chair. Oh, I set that right on top of you. He's so close to the chair, I didn't see him. He's right beside it. I set totally right on his head. Okay. But yeah, it says there's no right answer, but readability is critical. If it's too hard to follow, most readers won't bother. And that is true. That's why you see me do that thing that I was just saying. Because large blocks of text, absolute most important thing when it comes to structure is flow. Flow trumps everything. Yes. That is what I was just saying over here, showing you the example of. Flow trumps everything. When you are reading it, if it doesn't flow nicely, then break it up so it retains an easy flow for the reader's space. What do you mean by change of scenes? The example reads like the same scene. Yes, I thought that as well. You also could have done the above. That would have been just fine. Yeah, it is on one scene. I think a lot of people don't know basic structure of a novel. They don't know what scenes are. They don't know what paragraphs are. They don't know what sentences are. It's a little concerning sometimes. I think a lot of people have this attitude like, I'm going to pull out my magic wand and poof! Now I have a novel. They don't. It's like they think they're going to type words into a blank program and it's going to rearrange itself all the nice way they want it, and that doesn't work that way. Best way to plan out a chapter. Do you realize there are no chapters in this novel? There are no chapters in any of the current novels. I don't write chapters. There's no chapters in any of the novels. I think we want to change some stuff about the story as well. This part with the cave. I just realized where it landed. It is, it seems to come out of nowhere. What does the phrase living strange mean? No clue. I've never heard of it before. Ways to improve my writing. Get a high school textbook on grammar and composition. Start at page 1. Read it. Do every single example and problem it says to do. When you get to the last page, go back to page 1. Do it again. When you get to the last page, go back to page 1. Do it again. It's going to take you about 3 months to do each one of those books they're designed to do in 3 months. Continue to do that for the rest of your life. Guarantee you will improve your writing. So many people, when they hear me say, but that's schoolwork, that's homework, boo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Well, you know what, go fuck off. If you're too lazy to improve your skill, you shouldn't be trying to write. Sorry. Writing doesn't magically happen. It takes work. It really does. Preferable novel lengths. I don't think I have a preferable novel length. I read everything. I mean, I read stuff from little tiny flash fictions. I read Ernest Hemingway. Read stuff from little tiny flash fictions and not even full page, all the way to Tale of Two Cities, which is what, 800 and something pages. I have never read Ulysses, which is the largest novel ever written. I should read it. I don't even know what it is. I think, ain't that the one? Is that the one that's about, I'm looking for, where's my pen? this back here. It's all the way over there in the bed, ain't it? I wanted to put a blanket over my legs. My legs are getting cold. I have a circulation problem. I have a blanket over my legs. It's not warm enough. I want to put another blanket over my legs. You know what? Mickey's blanket's there. Let me take Mickey's blanket. He's mine. Wait a minute. Here's the blanket I was looking for. I found it. It was under Mickey's blanket. My velvet. It's a velvet, but it looks like plaid. It's so cozy. It's minky velvet, so it's not real velvet. It's polyester. Must be polyester. Hey, Mickey. Did you hear me say your name? I did say your name. He's trying it. I didn't tell you what happened, did I? Oh, wow. I did not know that was a skin chest. I didn't. Hey, we got a skin. And yeah, we got two things. Okay. I don't know what the other skins are in that chest, but wow, we finally got a skin. Is that the one that has the green, the like olive drab green, the like little army men or something? Gold chest. We will go gold chest with Ovid. Except we don't have what he wants yet. We'll have it in a few seconds. Let's look at these. Anyways, we went outside. Me and Mickey went for a walk because Mickey had to go out to the bathroom. So we did that. And we got over, there's a dirt road about, is it 2 blocks from here? It's a dirt road anyways, it's not that far. It takes us about 15 minutes to walk there. So we walked over there. The common place we go frequently. We walked over there. And because we just had the hurricane, if you don't know what day it is, Hurricane Elsa was just here. Everything is flooded. It's rivers like 8 feet over where it should be, and it's all flooded and icky and awful out there. So there's mud everywhere. The ground is just grounds. So we get out there, and it's a dirt road. It's got lots of potholes in it. The potholes were, the other day, full of mud. Now, today was really hot. The heat wave's back. Well, you just started. It was at 29 plus minutes. This one's probably not silver. Okay, so I don't want to wait that long for silver and bronze. Don't mind if it's like a skin chest, but not for silver and bronze. Anyways, it was extremely hot because the heat wave's here. Now that it's done raining, the heat wave's back. So the water, like, mostly evaporated out of the potholes. And it left potholes being like this thick, gooey, glue texture mud. And we're walking, and Mickey loves to roll. He's a dog that he loves to roll in everything he can find. And So he's rolling in the dirt, which is fine. He does that all the time. And he gets up and he moves ahead and then he stops. He sees his puddle. Wait a minute, I said flying rogue? I thought it said basic rogue. Oh yeah, it's flying rogue on the end. Alright, no, I don't have a flying rogue yet. I was putting it on the basic rogue spot. Anyways, he stops and he sniffs the puddle, and all of a sudden, usually he just sniffs things and then keeps on going. He stopped, sniffs the puddle, and he just bounces and jumps right into it. So now he's up to his knees in muck, and then he flips over and rolls in it. And then he gets back up and he stands there looking at me. And I was like, oh, what did you just do? You look like that poop monster that's in the movie Dogma. That's what it looks like. He's just completely caked with mud. All his whole thing, he's all mud. And it's just dripping off of him and off of him. And then while he's standing there looking at me, he starts wiggling all over. He rolls again. It's around more. And then we came back. And I was like, you've got to take a bath. And I can't even bring you in the house. The way the door is, as soon as he comes running in, he runs and the bed's right there, so he runs through the door and boom, right under the bed. So I didn't take his leash off because he can't go. And I'm trying to get my coat and tote bag and stuff off and put away while still holding onto his leash so he doesn't go to bed. And then I take off his leash and he starts running. And he bolts out of the room, into the kitchen, across the living room, into the bathroom, and I followed him. And when I got into the bathroom, he's standing there in the tub. He's in the tub. He got in the tub all by himself. He's standing there in the tub, and his tail's going, he's wagging, he's all excited to take a bath. It was like he rolled in the mud on purpose, deliberately, so he could take a bath. But he loves taking a bath. He's like, oh boy, this is the greatest thing. Take a bath and get out. And when he gets out of the bath, the floor's all carpeted. He puts his face down. He stands there with his bum up and his front paws spread out and his face sideways so that his side of his face is right on the carpet. And he starts running. He runs the whole length of the living room. And he turns around, puts his head down the other side, does the same thing all the way back. He scratches his face like that. He thinks that's his greatest thing. He's got a big towel that he likes to roll in. He's got the towel right now. He's all tucked in it. He loves that towel. He'll take it with him in the car too. He sits on it in the car. When he gets on the bed, he'll drag it around with him. He takes it around the house. He'll pick it up in his mouth and drag it around with him. He loves that towel. That's his. Every time he gets muddy, I give him a bath. So that thing when you're rolling, he rolls out there all the time. So he ends up getting a bath at least once a week, sometimes a few times a week. So he knew when he came in, he knew, you know what, I'm muddy. I'm just going to stand in the bath and wait. So, that's why he's sitting here so dry now. Mostly dry now. Mostly just used to it. That's why he was wet when you saw him earlier when he climbed up in the chair. Because we had just come out of the shower. That bathtub. discouraging and awful writing advice I found on the first result to how to fully plan out a story. I wouldn't fully plan out a story. I never do. The one I planned out, the only time I ever wrote an outline, was Love Less Madness. And I had to because of where I wanted to write. It had this structural, had three main characters, and it was the same story being told 3 times from 3 different perspectives. So you had this teenage girl. Chapter 1 told what was happening in her life from her perspective. Then her father, chapter 2, tells the exact same story, the exact same events, but you're seeing it now from his perspective, and he's dramatically different because he's seeing the whole thing differently than she saw it. Then chapter 3, her grandfather is also telling this same story, but you're seeing it from his perspective, and he's seeing it completely different than how they see it. So you see 3 perspectives on the same thing. Chapter 4 goes back to her perspective. Chapter 5 goes back to the father. Chapter 6 goes back to the grandfather. The whole thing is told that way. Rotating. And so for that one, because I wanted to write it that way, that one I wrote an outline because it was like, I needed to know what happened here, what happened there. It was very structured, so it required an outline. That's the only time I've ever planned out a story. I've made attempts to plan out stories a few times before that. Was never able to actually write the story out of the outline. I had this problem where when I wrote the outline, it was like I'd already written the story. So now I was like, well, now I'm done writing it. I don't want to write it. Every time I tried to write an outline. So I ended up, I've never written a story from an outline because every time I write an outline, I end up not writing the story. That's why I don't use outlines. I don't plan any of the Quaraun books. I have a basic, usually some type of basic, you know what? I want an excuse for Boom Fuzzy to do or say this. Let's have Boom Fuzzy do and say this and see what happens. I start writing. And who knows what's going to end up. I never know. Half hour for a gold chest. I would rather look for the special chest. Alright, that's a battling now. He's supposed to be Mind Flayer, but Mind Flayer is a copyrighted, trademarked term that you can't use. Mind Flayer is a trademark term you can't use it. Don't. If you write a novel, Don't call anything that you have with tentacles that suck out brains mind flayers. Or illithids, or beholders. Those are all trademarked characters. And how they got to be trademarked is pretty shitty. If you know the story of what happened, it was awful. Gary Gygax, who created mind flayers, illithids, beholders, and most of the other stuff. In the beginning, Dungeons and Dragons was a one-man show. He wrote everything himself, published it all himself, literally published it himself. He bought a physical printing press, the big machine, and printed them up in his kitchen. And it was literally just himself in his kitchen. And so he created all those things. And is it 1994-ish? Around then? Can't remember the exact date. He went bankrupt. The original book that he wrote was Metamorphosis Alpha. And it was a major flop. Most people didn't like it. So then he decided, you know what? Instead of elves in space, let's do it with wizards and Lord of the Rings type stuff. Well, that he called Dungeons and Dragons, and that took off. That was very successful. Then, in 1991, he was like, you know what? Metamorphosis Alpha was my baby. That's the one I want to do. I'm sick of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to republish Metamorphosis Alpha. So he republished it. He took out loans and debts and mortgages to massively self-publish. Again, with his own printing press in his house. Spelljammer. Huge amounts of books. He went nuts, crazy with this whole huge. This is going to be the greatest thing to ever happen to Dungeons and Dragons. Well, he should have. Nobody wanted Metamorphosis Alpha when it first came out. Why were they going to want to re-release of it under a new name? So, Spelljammer was released. He went bankrupt. You can still to this day buy cases of the books still in their original shrink wrap because they never sold. When he died, he had cases of thousands of copies of them in his garage, unsold. It was a major failure. I love Spelljammer. It's my favorite Dungeons and Dragons, but not a lot of people like it. And when you see what it is, you can see why. It's insanity on a stick in space. Not a lot of people want it. So he had to file for bankruptcy. And Wizards of the Coast, who owned Magic the Gathering, and it was the only franchise they had, they were like, well, you know what? We want Dungeons and Dragons. Look, we've got plans to do this and this and this. We've been trying to buy this thing from you for years. Now you're bankrupt. Sell it to us. So he sold them shares in the company. He didn't sell the whole company. he sold them shares in the company, and they kept buying more and more shares. And he was selling them to individual people, but he wasn't paying attention. So he would sell, here's 5 shares to this guy. Well, this guy was a CEO at Wizards of the Coast. Here's 5 shares to that guy. Well, that's the editor-in-chief of Wizards of the Coast. Here's 5 shares to that guy. Well, that's the chief illustrator at Wizards of the Coast. And they were all people who worked for Wizards of the Coast. And then they were like, well, I'll show you my shares. And, oh, well, I'll show you my share. It ended up one person who happened to be the owner of Wizards of the Coast ended up getting 60% of the shares. And he was like, you know what? I'm majority shareholder. You can't work here anymore. You owned the company for years, but guess what? I'm 60% shareholder. You don't own it anymore. You're gone. Gary Gygax was like, wait, what? What do you mean? They sued him because he continued to publish books. Wizards of the Coast, most of the stuff he was publishing, the Mind Flayer and the Illithid, which is the same thing, and the Beholder, they were his favorite creatures that he created, and he used them in everything he wrote. And so Wizards of the Coast was like, you know what? We're majority shareholders. We'll take out a trademark on these. We'll patent them. He didn't. So they trademarked Mind Flayers, Illithids, the word Mind Flayer, the word Illithid, and the word Beholder. And then, they didn't tell him they did it. And then, when he published his next book, his next novel, because he was publishing novels, when he published his next novel, they were like, guess what? We trademarked these, now we're going to sue you. It was just this insane... That's why a lot of the people, several of the people who worked for Wizards of the Coast, they were like, what the fuck are you doing? And they quit. They wouldn't work for Wizards of the Coast anymore. They got together and they founded Payo, which is the company that publishes Pathfinder. And they took everything that Wizards of the Coast hadn't trademarked and used it to make the Pathfinder series. And that's why a lot of people won't buy Wizards of the Coast products. They go to Payo to buy the alternate products, the Pathfinder. Because they're like, you know what? We were big fans of Gary Gygax. We'll play second edition. We'll buy all the TSR books. We won't buy Wizards of the Coast books. I knew a dungeon master. He was in my game group. He hated Wizards of the Coast so damn bad. You mentioned Wizards of the Coast near him, he would go into a rant. He would just go on and on and on and on and on. He's like, nope, only TSR, only TSR. I'm never going to forgive Wizards of the Coast what they did to Gary Gygax. Gary Gygax actually died because of what they did to, what is it? It was a mess. This one I was talking about with the olive green. Oh, Super Boss. Super Boss is one of the best chests. It probably is the best chest. You hardly ever see it. The Loyalty Super Boss. If you have the Gold X, it's crazy. You can get up to 80 scrolls in each chest. I did that once. It was a Musketeer, I think. It was 80, 80, 80, which was 116 plus 116 196, was that 196 scrolls all at once? This is crazy. Do I have epic paladins? Oh, I have an epic paladin. We're gonna go epic paladin. Just because, you know. Oh. His favorite thing is epic paladins. He talks about all about epic paladins. That's a running gag joke thing in his chat too. Somebody will come in and they're like, so what are we putting down on this map? And then Weird Gus will be, just put down epic paladins, what do you think? Who needs anything else? That's all he wants around here. And little people are like, what do we want? It's epic paladins, this is Ovid, what do you think? Just put down epic paladins. Yeah, it's Ovid, just put down epic paladins. If you don't know what he wants, give him epic paladins. That's all he wants. How much of an impact does an editor have on the story? Depends on the editor and the publishing house. Some editors have really big amounts. That's why what's that guy's name? Something French. If you notice, the Witcher novels say on it, written by and then edited by, because it took a hell of a lot of editing for those to be readable. Andrzej Sapkowski is one of those people who didn't know grammar. He had a story in his head, he just didn't know how to put down paper. He wrote it, and it was self-published through a fanzine, and then when it needed to be mass-marketed, it was like, yeah, there is no way anybody can read this. And he's edited hugely. So it's dependent on how much needs to be done. Also, what publishing company you're working with, or are you self-publishing? Okay. We were... here. Okay, start here. Grade 2, good. Grade 2, good. You are kind of a mini prologue, so I'm gonna zip you up. if we wanted to be extremely doing exactly what traditional publishers do, everywhere we have a break, we would start a new chapter. Now the traditional publishing format is start a new chapter. I don't do it with the Quaraun books, but the traditional publisher format is when the chapter ends, put it blank all the way to the end, and now don't go to the next page. No, because the next page is over there. Always start on the right hand side, halfway down. And then, again, because we've got a very short chapter there, like that, and when it ends on that side, it would go like that. That is the correct traditional format for publishing novels, paperback. This is how you do it. And I wonder, should we do it that way or not? Because technically, every time this shows up, it's starting a new chapter, so it should do that. Should we do that or not? I'm debating it. Quaraun, someone cut your hair. And burned all these dresses. Something like that. You know, the most disturbing part of this novel is how much of this stuff is just straight up copy and pasted. Court documents, newspaper reports, diaries, stuff that actually happened to me. Most everything that happened to Quaraun when he was a child and a teenager, almost all of it is stuff that happened to me. That's why it's all written. so we can actually, there we go, I want to be able to see. Let's go back over here. So what does this look like physically? Yeah, see, when it goes to a printing press, this stuff should always be blank on that side. Otherwise it ain't gonna print correctly when you print a paperback book. Okay, and then the novel starts right here, and at this point you see both pages until you get to the end of a chapter, and then it skips the left page to start to the right page. It is correct and proper paperback formatting. However, I kind of don't like it. You know, I don't like it. I like it the way we had it. Yeah, we're not supposed to do it that way, but I like this way better. This is the way the Retief novels do it. That's why I did it this way. I started doing it this way because the Retief novels did it. I like the formatting that the Baen books, Baen Publishing. I like the formatting that Baen uses in their paperbacks. So I use the same format and layout. And I separate the chapters the same way, where the chapter ends on the same page, and it doesn't have a chapter 1, chapter 2, and all that. Instead, it just goes, here's a little thing in the middle here, starts a new section. I find most people, when you get to the end of a chapter, they're like, oh, it's the end of the chapter, I'm gonna stop reading and put the book away and go do something else now. And you end up with a lot of people who don't read to the end. Whereas when you have these type of a break, they're like, oh, this ain't the end of the chapter yet, I'll keep reading. Oh, this ain't the end of the chapter yet, I'll keep reading. Oh, this ain't the end of the chapter yet, I'll keep reading. And they'll read the entire novel in the space of a few hours and not realize, wait, there was never any chapters. And now I've read the whole thing. But I, as a reader, I found it easier to read the Retief novels the way they were formatted than I did any other novel I've ever seen. And so when I started formatting paperback books, it's always the Quaraun novels I pull out, and I'm like, not the Retief novels I pull out, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want the Quaraun novels formatted to look the same way. So I used the same font, which is Bookman Old Styles, the one that they use, Baen Publishing uses. Are Baen books still around? They were one of the big house publishers back in the 80s, but I never hear anybody mention them anymore. No, I don't know. Baen books, are you still around? Baen books? Baen books. Baen books. like Bane books. I collect books published by this publisher just because they're published by this publisher. But I haven't in several years because life's been hell for a bit. Last few years I haven't been doing my normal stuff. Haven't been writing, haven't been reading. Oh, books. And their cover art is still the same way it has been. Their cover art, they haven't changed their cover art style in Bane Bundle 7 books. Are they books or are they I like the cover art on Bane books. I like their style. Always have. My favorite cover artist is a Bane book cover artist. Ebook no longer available for sale. Wow. Okay. How come a bunch of them are no longer available for sale? Prices shown are for ebooks. Ah, okay, that answers my question. Okay, I want to see. Do you have a non-ebook edition? I don't like ebooks. I ain't even gonna read an ebook. I don't read ebooks. If your book is available ebook only, I'm not gonna read it. What is this? No, let's see what this says. Oh, this is definitely something written in the Retief style. Listen to that. They're stealing something. They're taking it to the far-flung planet Swindle. Yeah, target characters like Much Afraid, who is traveling with much fearing on their way to seek a guy named Joy, so they can learn from the other guy named Happiness. I like the classic 1950s style of stuff also. I really like Bane cover art. Look at these covers. I love these covers. Who is that? I was saying that my favorite cover artist is a Bane cover artist. Okay, I can't remember what is his name. I know his name. So these are all ebooks. Do you have anything that's not ebooks? Do you have a coin collection? You ain't got a Tyrion one, do you? I'd buy a Tyrion one. I want a Tyrion one. Buy ebooks. No, I don't want ebooks. Bane's Bar still exists. Wow. If you're not logged in, this is the only forum you can see. I haven't been on Bane's Bar since like 1990s. I didn't even know they still had it. Okay. Frequently asked questions, I think, is the page I must be looking for. Do you still have print editions? Because you're mentioning only ebooks. I see no mention of print editions. Book binding problems? Possible, yeah, very compassionate, fail. A lot of classifications. Environmental problem at the warehouse. Okay. So you still have print books. Where's your listing of print books? Bought a book, where can I go now? Short runs. That's what I want. Request reprint even a few copies and run, which is out of print. Problem is we can sell maybe 1,000 a year while we need to print, wow, 15,000 just by printing all large. Yeah, they're very niche. I'm not surprised that they have a hard time selling 1,000 copies per year of a single title. They are a very niche. Didn't Jim Bain die? He wrote the help page, it says here. Didn't he die? Gee, he died in 2006. I thought he did. Wow. Their frequently asked questions has not been updated in a while because he wrote it himself. They no longer sell printed books. That's the answer to my question. Wow. Okay, so they're only doing print on demand. 130,000 words. We are uncomfortable with manuscripts under 100,000 words. If your novel is really wonderful, send it regardless of length. We no longer accept as many grants and submission. Reporting time takes 12 to 15 months. Wow. They get so many manuscripts that it takes 12 to 15 months for them to read and either accept or reject. You have to wait over a year for an acceptance letter. You would really want to be published through them. For fantasy, any magical system must be rigorously coherent and integral to the plot. Yeah, they very high fantasy. We only publish science fiction and fantasy, yes. And they publish some of the best science fiction I've ever read. They publish old style science fiction. Stuff like you'd expect to have seen written in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s era, pre-moon landing style science fiction. Very old space opera, Star Trek-y style. Do you still carry the Retief books? I'm pretty sure they're all out of print. Wow. You've actually got them listed. No longer available, no longer available, no longer available. Yeah, they've got us. I see several here. Bolo. So if you click on them, Imperium's another Retief books. But if you click on them, what happens? You add your image history. Book is no longer available for purchase, only available for download if you previously purchased. This reprint was published. It was originally published in the 1950s. 1953, I think, is the original publication date. The author died around 1982. So when it says published in 2002, it was republished in 2002. These are really old books. Okay. I don't remember why we were looking at main books. Why would we be looking at main books? I don't remember. I completely forgot. Oh well. Who knows? Loyalty Super Boss. Yeah, see? 50 and 30 Musketeers. That was pretty good. The Super Boss is probably the most valuable chess in terms of the stuff it actually gives you. Did we put something down here? We did not, but it's only got 3 minutes, so go ahead. We've got 13 minutes. What is your thing? Okay, we don't need any more. It says you've gone offline. The gold chest. It says you've gone offline. I'm not gonna risk it on an unknown streamer. This period. 8 minutes. What is you got? Zombie root uprising. Zombie robot uprising. Alright, we'll just jump in on it because it's ending soon. Might as well grab it. 22 minutes. What is this one? Oh, you get that green mage that I wanted. Okay. So, we will help you with this one. And we think, is this my body? Alright, I'm looking should be able to upgrade. We can upgrade you. Okay. need to upgrade you again because we haven't upgraded you a while and we've been getting a lot of scrolls for you. Alright. Seven decades ago. Oh look, we're good on adverbs. We're good on passive voice. We're not so good on those. Or those. Or those. Wow. Oh, this is without editing. Okay. Never, never. Never use a full paragraph without the character's name and just go he is, he is. That's a huge problem for me. It's a thing I have to look for because I know I do it. Also, we're being repetitive right in the opening scene. That's not good. Anything that we edit, we can take it out. Take it out and put it in here. That was right at the top. Let's see if we can make the readability better, because I know readability is an issue with a lot of the stuff I write, just because I get long-winded and wordy when I write. I write the same way I talk, and I talk long-winded and wordy too. That same thing. Where? Okay. Also, you're showing an ad. I stop you from showing an ad? How did we do that the other day? The ad on the top, there was a scroll bar. I was able to scroll up. Hey, no. While we're editing stuff we can't have on Twitch, I could do that so you can't see the manuscript. How do I... Can you... Wait. Can you rotate? Rotate is not an option? Why is rotate not an option? Transform? Rotate 90 degrees. Ah, there we go. No more ad. That's better. I hate these websites put ads in. Okay. In his years allocated with detention, employed with detention, killed with detention. Why killed? In his years killed with detention? That makes no sense at all. Employed with detention is the only one that's logical. Quaraun had grown accustomed. Quaraun accepted, grown accustomed. Had endured. Quaraun allowed. Quaraun became accustomed. Wait. Had grown versus became. Quaraun had grown accustomed. Quaraun became accustomed. No, stop that. I was scrolling down. There we go. So is that in his years spent with the Daijin, Quaraun became accustomed to the warm desert. Quaraun had grown accustomed to the warm desert. Became removes two words, but had grown sounds better. Accustomed, addicted, acclimatized. Quaraun had grown acclimatized. Now that actually is the correct word. Quaraun had grown adapted to the warm desert. Quaraun had grown the warm desert. The sweltering desert. Warm, sweltering desert. Sweltering sounds better. I'm tempted to go with sweltering. Sweltering fits the image I want the scene to put across. Sahara. We could use the word Sahara. That's the wrong desert, ain't it? Ain't that the wrong desert? Now, forthwith, immediately, straight for PDQ. What's that stand for? Is that actually a word? Presently, in the immediate future, at the presently, immediately, presently, back at home. The whole thing sounds wrong. The whole, now back at home for the first time since his childhood. He was now there was him. Now time. I think that it still feels wrong though, like we can check it somewhere. Since childhood, he was back. Now he was back home for the first time since childhood. Now he was back home for the first time since childhood. Now he was back home for the first time since childhood. Why are you up there instead down here where I clicked you? Custom, yeah, put custom back. I don't know how to spell it. Okay. Now he was, why you, now he is back home for the first time since his childhood. Now he was, I don't talk like that. Now he was back home for the first time since childhood. He had forgotten how cold his snow-filled homelands were. He had clean forgotten. Clean, that sounds like something from Fuzzy would say. Clean forgotten. Now he had consigned into oblivion how cold it was. Now, okay, he had dismissed from his mind, he had disremembered, he drew a blank, he escaped one's memory. Okay, forgotten, still expressed. He had forgotten according to what code his snow-filled homelands were. He had forgotten by means of code. He had forgotten after what percent. He had forgotten by virtue of what. Okay, those are all weird. bitter cold. Bitter, bitter, bitter. How bitter cold. That actually fits the message I want to put across. He had forgotten how bitter cold, absinthe cold, luminous cold. His snow and snow blanket. His snow build. Snow permeated homelands. He had forgotten how bitter cold his snow permeated homelands were. But in dialogue, he would probably say something like that. He likes to. Quaraun is pretentious. He likes to use big words just so he can go, I know big words. He's arrogant. He had also forgotten. He accepted also forgotten. He acquired also forgotten. He allowed also forgotten. He became also forgotten. He experienced also forgotten. He included also forgotten. He encompassed also forgotten. Okay, so none of those. He had again forgotten. He had further make it. He had further forgotten. Yeah, further fits. He had further forgotten how stuck up and snobby his people were. How, according to what stuck up and snobby, after what precedent stuck up and snobby? Stuck, cemented fast, fattened, grounded, lost, baffled up. Okay. How stuck skybird. And snubby his people were. How snobby his people transpired to be. He had further forgotten how stuck up and snobby his people transpired to be. I like that. That's words instead of taking words away, but whatever. And how much they hated any, even minor, break consistency. Coherence, compatibility, steadiness. Also, very tired. I could take another nap. Oh wow. I might just go to bed. Look what time it is. It's 8 p.m. No wonder I'm tired. Break from consistency. Crack from consistency. Separate. Fracture from consistency. Breach from consistency. And how much they hated any even minor, any inconsequential, any even trivial break from inconsistency. Trivial break from inconsistency. how much they detested Abominable. How much they detested. Okay, so now it says, in his years spent with the Daishin, Quaraun had grown accustomed to the sweltering desert. Now he was back home for the first time since childhood. He had forgotten how bitter cold his snow-filled homelands were. Is there a double? Is that better? Okay. He had forgotten how bitter cold his snow-filled homelands were. He had further forgotten how stuck-up and snobby his people transpired to be, and how much they detested any, even trivial, break from consistency. Okay. Go to the next one, which is why did it do that? We have one taste word and one touch word. Bitter and cold. Alright. Grammar. That is spelled correctly. He had forgotten how bitterly cold his snow-filled homelands were. Bitterly cold. They always tell you don't use the LY words, but I like the LY words. I'm going to put it. Okay. Let's run it through this. During Deacon's years, Deacon got turned to Jin got turned to Deacon again. Quailon, instead of Quaraun, had become accustomed to the sultry desert. Sultry, sweltering. Now this is the first time he has come home since he was a child. He has forgotten how cold his snowy homeland is because he has forgotten how arrogant and nervous his people are. Besides, he has forgotten how much they hate any trivial interruptions in culture. Save that. Also, I'm gonna go lay down because I'm just gonna fall asleep for now. I am very tired. So I'll probably be back on in a few hours when I wake up, which could be anything from 2 hours to 4 hours to 8 hours from now. Who knows? I don't know what it takes me to wake up. Okay, you were asked, what are you doing? All flag bearers? Really? All flag bearers. You know what, we got enough to do that. Let's just do that. guess I'll be back on in a few hours. It's been 2.5 hours now. We're gonna keep working on Boom Festival for today. I think. Unless I change my mind by the time I wake back up and come back on. I don't know. I think we'll be working on Boom Festival.